Friday, everybody. Welcome into League Unlocked for another episode of Respawn in 30. Eric here with Mathos, breaking down the latest and, of course, the greatest in all of esports, starting off with that sweet, sweet Overwatch League, where you had some interesting matches last night that you wouldn't expect to be as interesting as they were, starting off with Seoul, who looked better. They looked better.
I'm shocked, to be honest. These guys ended up pulling out a victory that they otherwise had no right to win. Philly is one of those teams, quite like Seoul actually, where these guys end up losing to the weirdest people for literally no reason. And in this case, Philly lost to Seoul for the weirdest reason possible. For some reason, Philly decided that it would be a good idea to not learn how to play Oasis. They've got one side on it, it's University, they run 3 tanks, they stomp it out, and then they just can't get anything else done on the flip side of things. And they've got like a murder train of DPS players, yet no one seems to want to play Pharah. They don't know what they're doing. I'm confused. Nevertheless, Seoul put Ryu Jae-hong back on the docket, and what a shock! They actually put out the W. It is a fascinating situation to be in for Seoul and for Philly, because every match from here on in is playoff implication danger territory, and this definitely threw things topsy-turvy.
Yeah, we'll get deeper into how big a mess just the middle of the standings are here in Stage 3. The Stage 1 winners, London Spitfire. They love playing overtime here in Stage 3. 4th straight game in overtime, and they've lost 3 of those 4 after last night. They're 2-5.
They're pretty bad this stage. Their rigidity is absolutely destroying them. First of all, refusing to change your strategies based on what you're doing, pulling in certain guys that are not necessarily the best way to play. I don't know if it's the coaching staff that's meddling or they're forced to play with parts that they don't necessarily want to work with because players aren't in the right headspace. We haven't seen Bird Ring for the last 3 weeks. Things of that variety. Don't know what's going on behind the scenes. What I do know on the scenes is that London Spitfire played the first half against the London Gladiators like this was London Gladiators, LA Gladiators, pardon me. Like this right here was a gold match. These guys looked like clowns. They didn't get on the point on Blizzard World at all. They're picking the weirdest fights. They didn't know what was going on. Nevertheless, a team that also can't play on Oasis actually looked better this time. Gladiators had to put down a whole lot of extra work that they probably didn't want to have to do. And nevertheless, London, despite losing every single game, still somehow, based on pure raw mechanics, makes teams actually work for it.
Yeah, the fact that they're 2-5, they're obviously a better team than that record would indicate. They have some tough matches, and like we said, 4 straight overtime matches, and now the Gladiators have won 3 in a row against them.
Yeah. Fisher's got to be proud. You should see him smiling at the end of that match. It was great.
Yeah, he was very happy. So the middle of the standings are a bit of a mess. A lot of a mess, actually. But looking at the top, you got Boston at 7-0. And now New York head to 6-1 after a 3-1 win on Thursday. It was closer maybe than even 3-1 would say, but New York's still a dominant team at the top.
Yeah, and now, to be fair, Shock is in a situation where they are improving every step of the way. They've got all the pieces. Architect is going ballistic this stage. As soon as he showed up, his first stat, not so much. But ever since his debut, he's been going ham as expected. Everything's working out great for these guys. To be fair, New York, and this credit is given, this credit is due to the broadcast of all places. New York likes to run Janice, and New York has to do a lot of 3-2 reverse sweeps because Janice gets him killed. His play style does not gel with the rest of the team, and they just want to run raw mechanics and set strategies a la London. The theory is, at least from Monte Cristo, that they're sandbagging. Alternatively speaking, maybe they just don't care anymore. Their league is pretty much locked up for them. They're number 1 by a landslide. They've only lost 1 game a stage. San Francisco, on the other hand, actually in a spot where maybe they could pull off some stage playoffs themselves. So New York's got to get themselves out of this rut, or maybe they'll just turn it on and everybody will look stupid. Who knows? The argument also could be said that the teams are all a lot more closer than we originally thought. I don't know. Either way, New York is still in a pretty good spot, and Shock's actually looking great. So all things considered, good stuff for both teams.
And New York might just be bored because, they've been clobbering people for a little while now. It's time for our weekly update on what's going on with the Dallas Fuel.
Yeah!
But before that, actually, we got to look at the playoff picture because we've mentioned how big a mess it is. And in that middle of the standings, you got a bunch of teams at 4-3. And right now you got both LA teams in the playoff picture. They going to stay there? 2 LA teams in the playoffs?
Every match coming up now is a bloodbath. Valiant's getting clapped up in the early runs. Gladiators are actually looking good. The 4 ranker is disgusting. The 4th position, LA Gladiators, Seoul Dynasty, Outlaws, and Shock are all within 1 game, basically, of going hard in the paint. Every other team, Valiant's got to play Philly at some point in time, and they've got to play New York, and they're going to get myrtleized by New York, let's be real. You know, the Outlaws and the Shock, they got to play each other. Seoul's got to play. I mean, there's so many different maps here that can throw the Gladiators out of whack. Or if LA just go Valiant-wise, that I should say, since there's so many LA teams, if they go on a losing streak, then they're in deep trouble too. And even with that juicy map differential, next week is going to be a disaster zone for a lot of these teams. The only thing for sure is that Boston gets to play a lot of these guys and start spoiling some of their chances for these runs.
Yeah, and the Valiant already starting a losing streak. Started out 5-0. Now they're 5-2. So, and they got tough matches left. They're going to have to really turn it on to stay in the playoffs.
Not everybody gets to play Shanghai and Dallas. They've already used those free wins. And now they've got to start playing each other to the broken pool cue in the room. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. And we'll see how it goes.
You'll notice those guys weren't even on that list. They didn't make the top 10 cut. 11, 12.
What a shock. Who would have thought?
You're not hanging out there. Now it's officially time to take a look at our weekly Dallas Fuel update. What's going on with the team? Well, Effect says this is such a big mess. I'm going home. See you guys. I'm done.
First of all, I love Effect. Effect is my kind of player. He plays on pure emotion. And if he doesn't like what's going on, he gets in the game and he decides. I mean, the aforementioned anecdote is when the desk said that the Shanghai Dragons are going to beat Dallas Fuel. Effect turned on the super juice and mopped the floor with them 4 straight. The guy's an animal. But even he is at a point in time where he just can't tolerate it. I mean, they cut to him one time during the last stage where he literally put the fingers to the head and went and he blew his own brains out on screen. Surprised he didn't get fined for that, considering how kid gloves everything is with the Overwatch League. The man isn't coming back until the end of stage 3, beginning of stage 4. He needs a detox. He needs a more structured environment, something that makes sense again, because the topsy-turvy universe that he's currently playing in is not conducive to the background that the man is known to come from. What a mess.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff that team has dealt with and put for their players to deal with, I'm not surprised he's going to take a big break like that. And you know what? Enjoy it, man. Come back for stage 4. Maybe the Fuel turn it on and rip through stage 4 and put up a showing. Probably not.
You got to find your way out of this contract ASAP. Get someone to trade you, pick you up, because he's a demon. He's really, really good.
They don't want to get rid of him.
Oh, well, yeah, they probably won't, but I mean, a lot of money might change their minds.
Let's take a look at the Contenders League, where you had heavy favorites in Korea to get all the way to the grand finals, and Element Mystics losing the quarterfinals.
They get dunked on in the biggest choke I've seen in this game.
They were up 2-0.
2-0, and you've gone 18-2 in the regular season. You're playing a team that is a literal coin flip. They're 10-10. They didn't show much promise going in, and yet Element Mystic is out, and O2 is in the finals versus X5. This is a silly world we live in. And Element Mystic was one of those teams that everybody was saying, you know, hey, look at the crush look on this man's face.
He's destroyed.
He's broken. Like, these guys everybody was, first of all, they're the talk of the town, and everybody was saying age provided, because there is an age limit on the Overwatch League in general. You'd scoop the team wholesale for the expansion and just be like, let the youngins run. They're great. They use some really unique Orisa strategies on certain points where they just chain things in like clockwork over and over and over again. The team is hot fire, and they just absolutely killed themselves in this match. It's a true shame, and we're not actually going to get to see a real killer finals because both teams in the Korean finals suck. All the top teams just couldn't get it together. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, maybe now they're going to feel like maybe we've got to put some veteran leadership in with these guys when they inevitably do come to the big leagues. But the last week and the closing weeks of this week in the Overwatch League are going to be crazy for playoff implications, so make sure you're checking them out. Coming up after the break, Astralis went insane at Marseille, and Ninja broke Twitch again. Welcome back to Respawn, and 30 Eric and Mathos here breaking down some esports action for you. DreamHack Marseille from CSGO went down over the weekend, and Astralis was popping off amongst a bunch of big names.
I'm stunned at this tournament result. I mean, the field was wide open to begin with, but things are just going absolutely nutty. First and foremost, Gambit made it infinitely further than they had any right to be. G2 got absolutely massacred. Their lineup isn't working. They lost to Envious. How unfortunate was that? But the real barn burner here is the Astralis Na'Vi Grand Finals. Na'Vi can't win a single game without simple going nuclear. And I'm talking like shadows on the wall, bright flashes. People will know that he was there in the server when the game was done for years to come, nuclear. Astralis, on the other hand, pitch perfect Counter-Strike through the entire run. All the maps that they had, that they picked, were domination, 16-4, 16-5s. And then the maps in the favorites on the opposing side, they ended up winning those anyways, albeit far closer. I mean, you had Glaive going nutty the entire time. Zipex clutching it up like you wouldn't believe. Zeus and Edward on the flip side doing the exact opposite. Things didn't go too hot for them. Astralis, if anyone can't get their roster straightened out, Astralis is going to be the most dominant force in the game right now, provided that we have any kind of setup for the future. If these guys keep playing at this level, expect the unexpected. No, sir. It's Astralis all day online.
And Simple even showed some sportsmanship, because at some point he could see some radars off the glare or something, but he let officials know, and they remade the game. So good for him for showing that sportsmanship, even though they lost.
He used to be toxic, and now he's just like Mr. Nice Guy. So it's maybe a little too much Mr. Nice Guy. Nevertheless, the radar thing and the reflection, it was nice of him to say. It was necessary too.
The CWL Open from Seattle. Rise Nation rose from the dead in the losers bracket to go on a run for the ages to take home the title.
This was disgusting. So they went and they dropped in the losers bracket early, and then they crushed every single person for like 8 games straight, all the way to the grand finals. Now, EG was on some kind of unholy roll of their own, but unfortunately for them, look at this delicious BF. I love it. EG just didn't have the steam to put up with the tornado that was coming through from Rise Nation. They ended up resetting the bracket 3-1, and then Mafia stomped them 3-0. Rise Nation looked unstoppable this tournament, although to be fair, you know, United and EG did look very good themselves. Nevertheless, all one world is Rise Nation's planet to play on.
Yeah, they looked like they could not be beaten. No one could touch them, as they were gods in that tournament. The Epicenter XL in Dota 2 starts off today. The big boys, most of the big boys, start up tomorrow. You got Liquid, Na'Vi, Newbie, LGD, PSG, LGD, excuse me. They got that in the title now.
Yep, it's going to be a nutty tournament. The formats are all like best of 2s and group stages. Things move on from there into a best of 1s if you're in the bottom half of the group, or, you know, the best of 2s and then best of 3s. The big squeeze for this tournament is $1 million pot and 1,500 points. Virtus Pro, Mineski, these guys are looking real hot right now, flipping it out. Alternatively, you got guys like Pain Gaming who made it through, Complexity who made it through the qualifying slots. Don't expect them to do much, but they may play spoiler. Nevertheless, tournament's going to be hot. It starts today, and it's going all week, so expect to hear more from that next time.
Ninja continues to break Twitch. You know, Ninja Vegas 2018, he hosted his little Fortnite tournament where people went up against him head-to-head, peaked at 667,000 viewers on Twitch, which is breaking his record that he set with Drizzy Drake on his stream. Ninja only won one. He only won one match.
Is he sandbagging to hand out money to his 14-year-olds, or is he just trying to make the tournament long enough so that he can make all that money back? Look at how happy he is for the win here.
1 win, 2 runner-ups. And the first 2 matches, a guy named Blind came in, won both of them. That's crazy.
It's hard to say that the kids winning the tournament was actually the best part about it, because if Ninja did win, he'd have gotten money given to Alzheimer's research. And for me, Alzheimer's research is one of the scariest diseases on the planet and necessary as all hell. So I'm not too keen on him winning as much. It would have been nice if he donated some stuff anyways, but I guess $2,500 is good enough for Alzheimer's research.
It is an interesting look into Fortnite as an esport to see how some kind of no-name guys can actually beat what people think is the best Fortnite player or one of the best Fortnite players in Ninja. And there's other people that want Fortnite to be an esport, specifically Tencent wants to bring it over to China, and also PUBG obviously still growing as an esport. All these battle royales just want to get into that esport game, and it's got to be only a matter of time before they get there.
It is in a weird spot because they work, but they don't. We really haven't seen how competitive Fortnite actually would look in terms of a perspective from the observers, or how they build up a tournament, or what things would go on, and how they value certain things, and so on and so forth. But PUBG, they've worked out most of their kinks. They're throwing in $2 million. Tencent throwing in $15 million to set up infrastructure in China for all this Fortnite shenanigans. It's going crazy.
And we've already got the H1 Pro League. We've already got 2 weeks in the book. We're heading into week 3 coming forward. So H1Z1 has looked, it's been interesting. And, you know, they're only streaming on Facebook. So it was a bit laggy at times.
A little choppy, a little laggy. Didn't have the best read on that. I also on paper, I thought I'd be more excited about the way they're doing their point system, but unfortunately, it still emphasizes survivability more so than actual murder. All the kills you get in the early game don't necessarily weigh as much as they do in the later game because they implement a multiplier. So, I mean, you could still play passive and get your picks and just try to stay alive for as long as possible in order to maximize your points. And then, you know, there's the fact that Daybreak ended up laying off some employees and their parent company had their assets frozen. So I don't necessarily think we're getting a stage or season 2 of this particular event, but it'll be nice to see how things turn out for possibly the inaugural and final season of the H1 Pro League.
Well, it's always interesting. More stuff in Vegas. That just seems to be where battle royales go. Are in Vegas. It's the place to be for esports, apparently.
Well, Vegas likes RNG with their casinos, and
yeah,
so do battle royales.